Hey, how's it going, folks? My name is Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're back with another live stream. Today we're going to have a look at some more improvisational techniques. Some stuff I was experimenting with the kit that I have on the table, which you should be able to see from this perspective, concerning how much further down the table I am today. Because I currently have two Octatrack setups. One where I'm developing new template stuff, which is this current one, and the other one is where I do a lot of teaching and a lot of music writing. But I wanted to play with the Analog Rytm's new firmware a little bit further and kind of see where I could push it, pairing it with a very improvisational synthesizer, which is the Lyra 8. This thing is crazy. It sounds crazy. It's a lot of fun to play with, and it's great to improv with something that's very analog, like the Analog Rytm. And I've just been tinkering and getting my bearings and kind of experimenting with what I would like to do in this current setup. But I've also started working on this new remix template. And I'm kind of taking my old performance templates. This one's from the Ultimate Effects template for my Octatrack, and I'm like reworking them to make them more improvisational and more fun to just like grab live loops and mess with. So right now what I have going on, let's go ahead and crack this sucker. Oh yeah. Sponsor me. Do it. Okay, so what I have going on here is I have the Ultimate Effects template, which is, I design a lot of templates for the Octatrack if you're not familiar with any of the stuff that I do on this channel. I like to take my Octatrack projects and turn them into template projects, basically filling every pattern and every bank with some preset concepts and some pre-built effects, 64 effects to be exact. And I've done that again with the Ultimate Effects template, except for instead of recording two separate loops, making up two separate buses, what I have is one is an 8-bar looper on track 4, and then one's an improv looper on track 8. And the improv looper, you simply just hold rec 3 and it's quantized to 1 bar. So if I hold rec 3, I can hold it for 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars, 4 bars, up to 4 bars if I want. And then it will just loop those 4 bars. And then I can just mess with the audio. And over on this one, I can do perfect 8-bar loop captures and then crossfade over to it. I can give you a little example of what I'm talking about. Check it out. All right, I'm gonna grab a random loop here. Let's get this going. So I'm gonna select track 8. I'm just gonna hold rec 3 for like a bar. There we go. I captured a bar of audio. Can you scene 15? You can hear that I'm in that scene. I can like play with it now. And now I'm playing with some Octatrack effects. And I switched over to my live music. Gotta turn the Lyra down. Lyra is totally insane. This is one of my absolute favorite synthesizers. I love noise machines. The Lyra 8 is a perfect example of a noise machine and an improvisational tool. This is something you can sample the crap out of. And if you have a guitar tuner with it and you start to tune these, capacitive touch triggers right here, you can create a full octave of a scale. And then you can play that scale with your fingers, or you can drop quarters on it to make the capacitive points touch. But you can also layer them in the Octatrack, because you can overdub paste in the Octatrack, and you can build chords very easily just using the Lyra and your Octatrack, and then build like a sample pack if you want right in your Octatrack, or with your computer. Obviously, that would be much easier than doing it on the Octatrack. The Octatrack can be a real pain in the butt. Now, the title of this stream had to do with algorithmic music. And originally, like, as you could hear, it's very techno sounding right now, because I think techno really lends itself to improv stuff, but so does ambient. I think ambient and techno are siblings in a way. And I believe both of them are great for improv. It's not so easy to improv drum and bass. I mean, you can do it, but it's not as easy as it is to do with techno, or even like dub techno is another good improv genre, and ambient. And I think that we could do ambient and improv techno, maybe even during the stream. Right now we're going to play with techno, but we could probably do both of them in this stream if I hustle quite a bit. I know it's really hard to see the screen on the Analog Rytm, and that's one of the reasons why the Analog Rytm Mark II is a more advanced device, because it has a better screen. I do wish I had a Rytm Mark II. I don't feel like spending the money on one right now because they are quite expensive. It's definitely the most expensive Elektron box you can buy. The Rytm Mark II, Octatrack, and the Analog 4 are all in the 1500 range, and even used, a Rytm Mark II is still pretty expensive. And I also love this form factor. I'm a big fan of this form factor, but I would love to have a screen that could be viewed on camera so I could do some tutorial content, but also so I could see it a little bit better and have a better representation of envelopes and LFOs. And there's so many things that they're squished into this tiny screen on the Rytm, but the sound is still just as good, in my opinion, in the Mark I. And frankly, it's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous synthesizer. But the algorithmic part has to do with the new Rytm update. And so they added Euclidean sequencing, and it's so easy to improvise with Euclidean sequencing. I see everybody, I see so many folks in videos, YouTube is just growing. So the content for Torso T1 sequencer videos is just becoming exponential. It's just every video I turn around, someone's using the Torso, or they're using the what's the other one? Shit, I'm forgetting. Anyway, people are sequencing their Elektron boxes with external sequencers because they have like kind of Euclidean sequencers or algorithmic sequencing built into those sequencers. But we actually don't need that with the Rytm, because the Rytm has Euclidean sequencing built into it. The Oxy, yes, the Oxy, that's the one I was thinking of. Sorry, I was having a brain fart. I drank a lot of coffee, and I'm waiting for it to kick in. Or maybe it is kicking in, and it's totally baffling my brain. But I see a lot of people using the Oxy and the Torso T1, and I would love to get my hands on a Torso T1 and their S4 sampler. That thing looks really cool too. I think I could have a lot of fun with some sound design with that. But I wouldn't use it to sequence my Rytm, because the Rytm has Euclidean sequencing, and it has the Elektron sequence, like the best sequencer ever. And I know that, you know, it's neither here nor there, but I don't want to do it, because I want to take advantage of less pieces on the table and having to learn less functionality. So I like the idea that the Rytm has that built into it, and we don't need to use stuff like the T1 and the Oxy to sequence it, because it already does it. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and we can talk about this Euclidean sequencing a little bit as I take a look at these patterns. So over on my hi-hat track here, let me go out of the mute mode. If we're looking at our step sequencer on the Rytm, you can see that the length, here's my Euclidean sequencer. I don't know, you can probably, it's hard for you to read here, but it says length 11. So there's 11 steps maximum here in the Euclidean sequencer. Despite my track page length being originally set to 16, the length will augment your page amount. So you can actually just improvise how many steps are in your pattern live as well, because it will change the master length. And whatever you parameter lock to a step in the Euclidean sequencer, it remembers that for the Euclidean step. So if the Euclidean step gets moved over, so does your sound. So your improv is it's great. It's a great feature for improv, because you don't lose the sounds that you put down in your sequencer. However, you do lose control of a lot of cool stuff. Like, I don't think you can do slides with the Euclidean sequencer. So I think that's part of the Elektron sequencer. So if I mute here, if you hold retrigger in the mute mode, you can solo tracks on the rhythm. So I'm soloing my hi-hat track, and you can see that the sounds are still the same. It's fantastic. I could sidechain this because I have it running into the Octatrack's through machine, and I have sidechain built into my performance template. So I just go here. So I'm sidechaining the Lyra 8, and I'm also sidechaining the bass line on the rhythm because the rhythm has individual outs, and you may see that I have a cable right here. This is the individual out for track 3, which is the track that I always put the dual VCO on, or Sci-Ra, or whatever you want when it comes to the synth engines. So track 3 is individual out into my Octatrack, and I have the Octatrack's through machine set to C+B, which is dual mono. So now I have the Lyra 8 and the Analog Rytm bass line running into its own through machine and getting processed separately, so that I can do sidechain pumping on these instruments, but still keep my drums layered on top of the sidechained instrument so that it sounds nice and fits with the mix, as opposed to sidechaining the entire synthesizer mix. I think it's pretty cool, and it turned out really well. Let's grab another improv loop here. Now I'm in the improv loop. We could switch scenes again, back to the original scene. Now it's only on the left channel because I haven't finished designing the parts for this new template that I'm working on, but this is like a proof of concept. So currently it's only working in part 1 because I haven't copied over all the through machine settings, which is actually something I can do pretty easily. It's just C+D. Then I could play with more of the effects that I've already pre-built in the Octatrack. So this is kind of the idea here, is that I have this improvisational tool and it's analog, so I can keep messing with the sounds. I don't have to use, well, the analog part doesn't matter as much, but analog stuff sounds pretty nice. But I can keep messing with the synthesizer engines and then mess with this and then kind of do like a bit of remixing on this track if I want, because on this track, I could just keep putting triggers down. We could slice it up. Let's turn loop to ping pong. That's what I'm talking about. Now we're really remixing this. This sounds kind of insane. So I like this, that I can go into a scene like that. Record that. Record an 8-bar loop of this. Hit rec 3 once while selected on track 4. Hit it again once the recording starts. We're gonna grab 8 bars here. I'm in my 8-bar loop right now. If you go back in this scene, bring these hats back in. Mess with the Lyra. We'll see what we get. Maybe we could go over here and play with these, the Euclidean length. It's a pretty fun setup. I mean, the sounds that you're getting from these two devices, and then also being able to process them through the Octatrack, grab loops, change the Euclidean sequence around, it's pretty wild. Like it's endless. I could just go on and on and on forever. I just need to bring in more sounds and create more performance scenes and just more regular scenes on the Rytm, but I could just keep doing this probably for hours. I wouldn't need a set. I could go to a show with this piece of kit right here and just load up some, well, like a pattern to get it started, have something prepared, like a pattern prepared, but then just improvise from that pattern moving forward, and could probably get quite a bit done in a live setting. I mean, am I wrong about that? I think that this is a pretty slick setup for a live show. How's everybody doing in the chat? Let's see if my chat thing's working. It's not. It's I guess I hadn't fixed it yet. So the chat is still the chat is still invisible. How do I feel about Rytm as a sampler? I mean, I prefer sampling on the Digitact. I can't sample on this Rytm because this one doesn't sample, unfortunately, but when it comes to sampling, I like the Digitact sampling because it's got that threshold recording, and I find that to be extremely convenient. You can also sample 8-bar loops on there by default. That's something that you have, is quantized 8-bar loop sampling, so it keeps things really, really simple and basic on the Digitact. So I really like that. The Rytm and the Digitact both don't have very much space for samples, but they both sample in mono, so you don't need as much space, and they're both kind of meant to be one-shot players. So I don't think it matters that much. The advantage of doing things on the Digitact when it comes to sampling is the pre-built slicing machines, the repitch machines, the warp machine, and also pattern mutes. I think having pattern mutes is a really powerful effect. If you're going to do like live improv, you don't need pattern mutes because we actually want the Rytm to mute the kick when I go into my next pattern. Like I want to have the kick in whatever pattern, whatever sound is muted when I move on to the next part. Is this metronome on? Or is it the sidechain thing? Let's take a look here. Auto track switch, I love that setting. Let's turn that click off. That's been really annoying. Okay. I thought it was just a resetting of an envelope. The click, I had the click track turning on. Maybe I want to turn off the amplitude envelope retrig? No, I don't want that. No, sample trig doesn't do anything. Let's change our gotta change that sound. Let's see. Let's go to the sound browser. Why am I in snares? Give me a kick here. You know what we should do? We should load up the acoustic snare drum. Clear this and this. See if we maybe grab a sample. Got a bunch of samples in here. Oh, my sample engine's turned down. Hits? That could be cool. Did I turn the sample trig off? For whatever reason, my kick drum is just totally cooked. Don't know why. We'll have to move to a new pattern. How are folks doing today? Thanks for hanging out with me on another live stream. We're playing with the Analog Rytm, the Lyra 8, and the Octatrack, and this is a version of the remix template that I'm working on for improvising live with any device that you want. I'm still like in a very experimental stage where I'm trying to decide like how long do I want the loops. You can just change how long that these loops go for. We can get rid of it, the max setting, and we could have it be quantized to like 4 beats if we wanted. And then it will wait for every 4 steps to grab loops of chunks of 4. That way the audio is quantized and like makes sense in a live setting. We do need to fix whatever is going on with this. Oh, it was probably my scene messing with it. No idea. LFO is set to tune? What? What? No wonder it was being so weird. There's a kick drum I like. Let's clear out these sounds. Let's add some more events. On the second one. Oh yeah. Loop. All right. We're going to crossfade into a new 8-bar loop. I'm going to change some triggers on here. We're going to mess with this again and then crossfade back over. All right, here we go. Let's load some different sounds on here. Maybe mess with the synthesizer engine a little bit. Synth. There we go. go to a new track, maybe grab a synth sample. Or I mean, maybe grab a sample, not a synth sample. We have these chords. Yeah, we can just tune the A minor chord. Oh, I don't know about that one. Some chorus right now. All right, let's put like something melodic in here. I want to add like, we got the chords starting to happen, like we're starting to grow this track out quite a bit, and now I want to get like some sort of arpeggiated type sound. We could use the new synth engine, but I've already used up all the analog, like all the tracks that are able to play that arpeggio synth engine. So I think we're gonna have to use a sample. Bleep and bloop techno, let's go. The new scales mode on the Rytm is a game changer for sequencing on the pads. Yeah, I totally agree. I need to mess with that a little bit more. Let me see. Add scale. Should we go Dorian? What are we playing in? Per pattern. All right, let's go to, we're on this track. Let's use a sample and get like a synth sound. Foley's, rims, rolls. What's in the techno pack? Leads. That works for me. Let's go to the mute mode and solo it and just listen to it for a sec. I actually kind of like the tom sound on there. Oh, the quarter is part of the jam. Quarter loop. It records on the turnaround of every 8 bars. Hit Rec 3 again, and this will tell the recorder to stop recording on that loop. be a part of the loop. Let's go back over here. Do a little more of this. Check this out. Let's go to that loop. Let's change the tempo. Sample so quiet. Oh yeah, let's turn that down. Here we go. Remixed. That one sound. guess. can pretty much just do this forever, right? This is just, I'm just practicing at this point. That needs to be an 8-bar effect. That's something I'm gonna have to adjust. But like the juxtaposition between these two chords, because one sounds like very house dancey, and then we can like, it still works, and it's just like a much darker feeling. Cool. So I just like improvised a techno set for the last like almost hour, I think. And it started getting better further into the music, as you could tell, as I was getting more comfortable, more familiar with working on the rhythm again. Because I'm used to working on the diggy boxes, you know, the syntac, tic-a-tac, digatone, and then my Octatrack with a TB03 in the corner. And that's my workflow. And I love that workflow, but this, I was able to play for an hour without anything prepared. And I feel like I could have just kept going. Now the trick would be, one thing you really could do with the Octatrack here is that you can use your headphones and have a separate set of headphones for like a DJ style cue, and have a separate set of headphones and listen to the incoming audio while the audience listens to a loop. And then you could really play with these machines and like dial in the next sound while it's looping an 8-bar loop and then crossfade back over. That's something I can't show you because it would require that you actually have to do it live, like at a show, because it won't matter much. It'll just look like suddenly the music changed. But that's the idea. That is truly the idea, is that suddenly the music just changed in a very pleasant way. And you can do that with the Octatrack because it can, you know, loop in stereo with unity gain, which I think is awesome. So horror house. Yeah, that's actually that's a great way to put it, horror house. Easy is the unsynthfluencer. He gets me to sell the last piece of gear he got me to buy to fund the next piece of gear he got me to buy. The unfluencer. Horror house. If that made you cringe, that's on you. Horror house. I actually really like this idea. Maybe we should make like a compilation of horror house where we all just try and make the most. No, it wouldn't be horrible music, right? But just something that sounds like scary sounds. I guess that minor chord sounds like something you'd hear in like a cheesy horror show. I don't know, man. Clever, whatever, forever. Yo, Easy, you heading to Superbooth this year? I do want to go to Superbooth this year. That is the idea, is to try and get over to Superbooth if I can afford it. Speaking of that kind of stuff, we don't have a sponsor for today's stream. We're not doing a sponsorship stream. This is just me jamming. But if you're interested in getting this template, and let me know like what you guys think about this particular template on the Octatrack. So let me break it down for you. But before I break it down, if you want to get your hands on my templates and my Octatrack projects, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT. And all of them are available there for the low price of $4 to join the Patreon. Alternatively, you can also get it at coffee.com. Not this template, because it's not on Coffee. This is the Patreon exclusive, because anything that's a work in progress is Patreon exclusive. So if you want to get any of my whips, you can go ahead and visit the Patreon. But I am curious, because last week we did a stream where I talked about a remixer template. It was a completely different template. It had 3 different stereo tracks for 3 different styles of remixing on the fly. And this is different. This has got an 8-bar looper with 64 effects, plus also a single remix track. But we get to have the stereo split still. So like that's something that I really liked the idea of, is having the drum bus coming into inputs A and B, and then a synthesizer bus, which in this case is the individual output from the baseline synth. So the dual VCO plus the Lyra are going into input C and D on dual mono. And then I can process them. I process them together, but separate from the main mix from the rhythm, because the rhythm's generating all the other sounds. So that's something that you can do on the Octatrack, and it's, you know, pre-built into this template. So what we have so far on the template is a through machine with a compressor going into a neighbor, going into a neighbor. And I know if you're not familiar with Octatrack, what it means is it's a machine that has 2 effects on it. The through machine lets audio come into it, and you can process incoming audio. That's running into a neighbor track. Neighbor tracks process the audio from the track above them, gives you 2 more insert effects, and also gives you, you know, the sequencer. You can use that as well. You can also sample on any of these tracks at any time if you want. That's not something you can't do. We could still like grab 8-bar loops and save them and load them into our computer if we wanted. But then it goes into another neighbor track for another set of 2 insert effects. So each one of these buses that I have here that's bringing in the audio, this drum bus has 6 insert effects in serial, and I'm using those insert effects to create different effect scenes. And then at the very end of the chain, I have a stereo recorder that records the entire mix post effects of 8-bar loops. And that's just a really powerful thing. If you hadn't noticed already, as I was doing this live improv thing this whole time, I was grabbing 8-bar loops, crossfading over to the 8-bar loops, and then adjusting some stuff. I was doing it blindly. I wasn't listening to what I was adjusting. I was just changing the Euclidean sequences because that's all you need to do. In fact, I would say if you set a scale on your rhythm, use the Euclidean sequencers, you could crossfade over and just change some settings, hold down some steps and hit some notes on the sequencer here or on the chromatic grid. And you don't have to hear what it is because it's going to work no matter what. And then just as it's, maybe it doesn't sound perfect yet, just live while you're performing, take the kick out, start adjusting some synth sounds until you like it and bring your kick back in. It's a piece of cake and it's incredibly fun. The way that I have the template working right now, or the way I have the Octatrack functioning, is it's receiving clock and transport from the rhythm, but it's not receiving program change. So all of this takes place on a single pattern. It doesn't matter what pattern you're on. I'm just treating this like an effects box, like a mixer effects box. Nothing is programmed into it. So I can crossfade over to a recorded loop. I could change patterns on here. Octatrack will stay in that recorded loop. So as long as this is at its original tempo, if I crossfaded over to another pattern that was also at 156 BPM, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and then I could slowly fade into a brand new track with all new sounds. I didn't prepare a bunch of tracks before we did this stream because I kind of did this setup last minute. It's just like this one had been on my mind. I wanted to get my Lyra out. This is very difficult to tame. I do recommend that you tune it first. I didn't tune it first. And then you can probably have a little bit more fun. Tune it to the key of your rhythm, and then you could just, turn up the hold button or place quarters on the triggers and manipulate it live, and you would have a good time with that because you could always just go back to the other sounds that were in tune with your scale on your rhythm or whatever device you chose. I also realized that I was pretty early on in the stream. I was talking about my thoughts on the T1 and the Oxy being your sequencer as opposed to using the rhythm. And as much as I try to be objective and not have an opinion seep out of me during these streams, I want to be like sharing stuff and not sharing my opinion or be too opinionated based on my own workflow. And as I was just thinking about what I said, and I feel like I kind of want to take it back because I really do enjoy the process that I'm coming up with here, but there's nothing wrong with using the Oxy or using the T1 to sequence the rhythm. Like, go for it. It doesn't matter. You're just going to lose out on parameter locking your sequencer. You know what I mean? I think it's a great idea, and I think you'd have a blast doing it. I'm not trying to push people to just stick with the rhythm. You don't need to do that. You do whatever you want. My opinion doesn't matter. That's what I'm getting at. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to my opinions because they mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. The only thing that matters is if this brand of drink will sponsor me. And so far, I haven't heard nothing from them. Yeah, the sound locks are really important. EZBOT versus Mark Broom back to back. That would be sick, man. I do want to I think I might leave this setup up here for a while. Because I want to get better. I mean, you heard me getting better just throughout the hour of me performing, right? Like I felt like I was going from like, it was sounding like just kind of okay to it got to a place where it sounded a lot better. And we were doing it without stopping the sequencer most of the entire performance. That's what's fun about this, is that you don't need to stop the sequencer. You can just keep going. You can just grab a new sound, bring a new sound in, crossfade over to a loop, bring a new sound in, crossfade up back over to the live mix, bring another sound in, crossfade over to a loop, and just do this process over and over again. It is a skill, I think, that I am not fantastic at because I'm not a live techno improv artist, but I do want to get better at it. And I think this is the way to do it. I think this workflow is going to work for a lot of people who are interested in doing live improv techno. And it's not that many pieces of kit. You don't need the Lyra. Imagine just the Octatrack and a Rytm Mark I. Just these two. And I do understand that's about $3,000. Just these two, which is crazy. It's crazy that it's that much money, but I do think it's worth it to have the hands-on control and the performance scenes, and then the Octatrack being able to loop and do process effects. I think it's a really good time. Now, I do want to mention that today's stream was actually going to be the push 3 and the remix template. That was the original idea for today's stream. And I have a broken pad on my push 3. I also have a broken microphone on my OP1 field. And as my partner Sephora would say, she always talks about how they're just machines and machines fail, and that I need to get over that and get used to it. And I felt like I was gonna just explode when my push 3 button wouldn't work on the pads. I was so excited to use this workflow with the push. I was like, oh, this is how I'm gonna use push, because I feel like what is missing for me on the push 3 is that I don't have the performance effects. I have to go into Ableton and design a really elaborate rack of effects to get the improv part that I really like about live electronic music. And the Octatrack does that for me. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll pair this with the push 3. Then of course the button breaks. And even though it's just one button on the pads, it put me over the limit. And I was like, I just can't deal with this. I want Euclidean for the Vermona. Well, you do have Euclidean for the Vermona if you pair it with your Rytm, because this can send MIDI notes and triggers out to the Vermona. So you could do that. I think what we should do before the stream ends is that we should try and I'll go to another pattern and we'll load up a bunch of melodic sounds and we'll just Euclidean sequence the melodic sounds, and then that'll be easier for me to play with the Lyra because I can just do one note at a time. I think that'd be cool because the techno aspect is, while it's fun, I would like to play with some more melodic stuff in the Euclidean sequencer. Can you talk about how you come up with live sets? For sure. So when I'm designing a live set, well, it has a lot to do with like what kind of music you're going to write for your set. But basically for me, I have 4 projects, right? I have a project in the Octatrack. We'll talk about this. I have a project in the Octatrack, which is usually a template project that I parameter lock some effects to and parameter lock the tempo to in that project. And then I'll have the digattack, digatone, and syntact over here. And then I'll write a pattern and then elaborate on that pattern for a few more patterns until I feel like it has a crescendo and a beginning and an end to a song, essentially. But I also want it to have moments where there's some improvisation that can happen in there. So I'll have some simple melodic tracks that I can adjust the track length and it will just offset the melody. And because I have all the projects named the same project and I write all of my music in the same projects, I can perform all of my songs that I've ever written, not ever written, but like a lot of songs that I've written in my projects and just move over to another song, to another song, to another song. So if somebody goes, hey, Matt, can you play a show? And I go, how long do you want me to play for? And they say 45 minutes. Then I go, okay. I go and I pick out 45 minutes worth of music out of 2 hours worth of music that I have preloaded in my projects. And I put together a set that I think fits the other performers I'm playing with or fits like the venue or the scene or basically how I'm feeling. And that's how I design a set. So I just write a lot of music. I don't like design a set like 2 weeks before I go play a show and go play something that I wrote a couple hours before I play. That's not my workflow. That's something you would do with this. This setup would lend itself to just, going to a show and performing with a pattern even and just continually improvising with that original pattern. But the stuff I like to write is very intentional music. So it's closer to what you would expect from going and seeing somebody perform with a tracker because the songs do have like kind of an arrangement to them, which makes it harder to do that much improvisation, which is why I end up doing the improv on the Octatrack because I can just I can improvise the whole mix based on half notes, quarter notes, and eighth notes right on the Octatrack. Hopefully that answered your question a bit. I know that's like a bit much to articulate, I guess. Also, I'm talking to a camera and not an actual human being, so that also makes it difficult. LaCroix versus Liquid Death. You know, honestly, I've never tried Liquid Death. Yeah, man, do this again. All right, let's move on to, because I want to keep showing off what I'm doing with this template. And I want to know if people want me to do this or they want me to do the template that I did last week, which was the 3 remix tracks. So if people will leave comments about that on my Patreon, in the Discord, in this YouTube video, let me know which template you liked if you watched last week's stream, and this week's stream. I'd like to know which one to put my energy into. Right now I'm going with this one because it has the separation between the drum bus and the melody bus, and I think that makes for a better mix. And also the effects that I designed for the separation of those 2 buses work better. So one will high pass the drums while opening a filter on the melodic side and adding a bunch of reverb and delays, stuff like that. That's something you can't do without separating these 2 elements. You like the variable length loops hemi-quantized? What's up, Harry? You're all ears here. The sidechain is sounding good too. Okay, cool. All right, let's move to a new pattern. So let's go pattern 2. We got nothing in here. And let's just grab a new, should I grab a new kit? And we'll save the current kit that we have so that we don't lose it. And then we'll grab a new kit. Just a blank kit. Now we're basically at a fresh project. The thing that the Rytm does memorize is your kits per pattern, so thank the Lord for that. That kind of gets you past the pattern mutes situation, because you can actually just have your next kit start with a track muted, not with a track muted, but with a sound, the volume all the way down, and then you can bring the sound up, and that kind of acts as a pattern mute if you wanted to have some very intentional patterns on the Analog Rytm. Same goes with the Analog 4, it's the same workflow, or the mono machine or the machine drum, all of that. Similar workflow. Okay, so we're gonna do some melodic stuff, and this is still going in here, so we can still process at least 1 track in the Octatrack. So I'm gonna start with the hi-hat track. We'll just start with track 1, and I'm gonna switch out the synth for samples. So let's go ahead and grab some samples. Could actually try and just grab a whole bunch of samples from the sample manager. I think I have a good number of samples. Maybe we'll grab some of this. Let's use this acoustic piano pack. I bet this has got some good stuff. Let's see. Let's do some Euclidean piano. I bet this is going to sound dope. I bet you this is going to sound dope. Here we go. Let's grab that one. Let's grab that one. That one. Let's just grab a whole bunch of Euclidean piano. That one might be a little too low. And then we will load them to the project. I'm actually really excited to do this Euclidean piano thing. I think this is going to be sick. Let's see if we can find some other sounds too. Reeds. Oh yeah. I guess we can grab those reeds. Load to project. Let's start with these piano sounds and just go from there. So on this track in this kit, we are going to load that piano upright. Let's just try this one, see how it does. Turn on the Euclidean engine and start putting some triggers down. Make it 128 steps long. there we go. Make sure the delay and the reverb are really big. I'm going to the effects track, adjusting these, give it a good amount of feedback. Under 90 usually is best practice. Now I want the reverb, huge decay. It's already pretty low passed. We're gonna start, I'm not gonna adjust any of the notes on this yet. I wanna see what happens if we just put another note on another track and kind of just play with it this way. So we'll go over here and grab another piano note and do another Euclidean. Oh, I forgot, these are shared. Whoops. Let's turn that one off. Let's go over here and do it. Forgot about the shared tracks for a second. Maybe I will adjust the notes. We'll just do C Dorian, keep things easy. Maybe not C Dorian, that kind of sucks. Hang on a second, let's pick a different. Euclidean sounds good. I kind of want to throw a kick drum down on this. I don't know. Let's get some more Euclidean sounds. These are shared, stupid shared sounds. Am I not seeing my steps? I want this, at least one to be on the one. I need to have my length turned up. What's up with that last slice there? How's that? That's a little goofy, I don't know. The kick drum doesn't need to be there. Oops. Not the smoothest transition. That was a mistake. I made a mistake there. Why do I also get hemorrhoid commercials during this stream? Might need to look into that. I don't know. Those commercials, they target you based on what your phone's been listening to, so you know. Well, sitting down for hours making electronic noise music in your 40s is hard on the bum. Yeah, no doubt. What was the Target ad? Tucka pads. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, so we had a good time today. I had a really good time doing this improv workflow here. I really like the Lyra 8 in this setup, but I do think that maybe I would replace it with like a bass synthesizer and do like more techno stuff. I do like what it can do, but it is really hard to dial in the notes in a live setting. Like it's just all over the place. The modulation on it is not meant to be tamed so easily. So maybe not the best choice, but I wanted to use my Lyra today. I would maybe use like a 303 or something like that, or an Erica Synths bassline, and then have that run separately in, and maybe use like a chord engine or some sort of drone sound and have that go separately into the Octatrack so I could sidechain that and get some rhythmic melody stuff. But overall, I think that these two together are pretty unstoppable with the Euclidean sequencing and the scales mode for the keyboard, and just improvising some music on the fly. Just pick a bunch of sounds that are in the same key and you could just go forever, basically. I think it's pretty sick. So that's where I'm going to leave you. I'm going to take off. I'm going to do some work. I'm going to work on the template. I think I'm going to turn this, because this is such a quick turnaround for me to turn this template into this remix template, that I'll probably use this one for the time being, and maybe I'll just get this done in the next hour or two, upload it to Patreon, and let folks play with it and see what they think. The effects are quantized to 4 bars, just so you know. This recorder is quantized to 8 bars. I'm not going to go in and adjust all of the effects to meet 8 bars. Maybe I will just for the space part, for the first part, so that we have some 8-bar sounds on there for some build-ups and stuff. But otherwise, I'm going to kind of leave it as it is for the most part, and I'll duplicate it out, add some install instructions, and some effects adjustments, and get this uploaded onto Patreon and let y'all play with it. So if you're interested in picking up these templates and want to support this channel, which has got a very heavy focus on the Octatrack, as you can tell, but a very heavy focus on live hardware, electronic music, all sorts of workflows, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT, and it'd help me out a lot. Or you can just get a thumbs up and a nice comment on this video and just help it get out there, so maybe I make a buck off ad revenue. I don't know. It takes a lot of time to put this stuff together, so I don't really feel bad asking for it. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. I'll see you all next week. Actually, I might see you again this week. I was thinking I might start doing this twice a week, so hopefully folks like that. So maybe I'll see you in a couple days. I'll catch you later. Next time. Bye.